Today we're going to talk about my exercise and sport related nutrition question. As I've mentioned in the many responses that I've given to some articles we've had on nutrition, macronutrient replacement, supplementation, hydration, and things like that in public school football, high school football. Question derived from me going to my son's football games, and early on in the season when it was hot in North Carolina, kids were starting to cramp during play. Initially, I put the blame on heat as a proponent for causing dehydration and causing the guys to cramp. Outside of heat, I related it to poor conditioning. As the season went on, I noticed even more things that I thought were the causes of this that point away from lack of conditioning, and along with lack of hydration brought in lack of recovery, lack of macronutrient replacement for the athlete. Football is a sport that's redundant. What I mean by redundant, you do the same things over and over and over again. So recovery to the body is an issue, and most teams do strength building in the postseason or after the season is over. Well, what I noticed at this particular high school, they would have practice for an hour and a half, and this is on-field conditioning, sport-related activities, drills, practicing against the opponent for the opponent to come. After practice, they would also have weight training for another hour and a half. All right, now let's talk about public schools. They're offered during the week 2 opportunities for nutrition, and that's breakfast at school and that's lunch at school. And those choices oftentimes aren't quite the choices that you look for to support you in any kind of training and atmosphere. It's just your regular nutrition for any average school-aged person. Well, for the particular athlete, they have to go to practice, which they eat lunch around 12. Practice starts at 4:30. That's 4.5 hours without food to support them through practice. Now, once they're off the field, practice is over. They then go to weight training, and that food is still remain to support them. Even after weight training, they have to wait until they get home to get any other types of nutrition in then. And then that's really also based on if the parent has proper education on macronutrient replacement or supplementation, or ways to get proteins back into your child, ways to get carbs back into your child, reasoning for having hydration during this entire period to carry iron, to support oxygen to the muscles, to replace the energy that they've lost through their carbohydrates, to replace the proteins so their bodies can repair the muscles that they tore down. Because as we know, tearing the body down from the sport of football starts football practice day 1 and goes to football practice at the end of the season. The body is never really given the opportunity to repair itself. So recovery and macronutrient replacement is really, really important. Going back to the setup, from 12 to 4:30 being a time frame without eating, the child's body normally would burn off the nutritional supplements that it has gotten from the lunchtime, and just working on their deposited fats that they have into their body, so to speak, once they hit their practice times and on through their weight training portion. Now let's take a school-age athlete who has very low body fat percent, and we all know that football is an anaerobic sport, but when you combine a 3-hour period of anaerobics, you probably kind of get into the aerobic set, and their body trying to dip into the fat storage to burn or create energy. Where for a kid that doesn't have a lot of fat, then his body probably goes into what we call overtraining, because in overtraining, your body never gets a chance to recover. So with my child, I suggested that, hey, after 12, you should eat probably 30 minutes to an hour before your practice starts. Once your practice starts, that food that you consume 30 minutes prior could be something simply as swishing, which is a technique used for people that can't really handle a lot of food before they participate in exercise, but it still gives a performance boost. If they can handle supplements or protein drinks or meal replacement drinks that will give them the nutrition needed to support them all the way through that practice set, then those were things that they could have consumed also. Once after practice and during practice, I always said, hey, drink plenty of water after practice. You should get some sort of drink that carries carbohydrates through the body, that carries iron, things that will bring oxygen back to the muscle, help with hydration. Because you know, in practice on the field, they sweat, so they lose water. They use the bathroom throughout the day and maybe at practice too, so they lose hydration. And hydration is one of the important things that helps to carry things throughout the body. Now, drink that sport drink to replenish your body after the on-the-field practice and to kind of prepare you for where you're going to come into the weight training portion. Now, I would say if you can have a bottle of whatever around that's going to replace some of the things you've taken in, that's going to replace some of the things that your body has lost during the on-the-field practice, to keep with you during your strength training portion, because that's only going to aid to your performance and aid to the recovery until the next day. Now, after both of those sets of practice is over, and once you turn to the home site, you should also get in the macronutrients possible, like your fats, your proteins again, and your carbohydrates. Your carbs are used to give you quick energy, to tap into your ATP to get that quick energy source going, which supports you in anaerobic activities. Now, once you burn all that off and your practice starts to run together into the longer duration, into a 3-hour period, you probably start to dip into your fats. Now, if there's a kid who, like I mentioned before, doesn't have a lot of fat inside their body, then their proteins are going to want to start doing the jobs that the other macronutrients should be doing, and it won't be allowed to because there are not enough proteins in your body. So you should get more protein in once you get home and you're done with practice. You should get more carbs in once you're home and done with practice, and also more fats. Because the only time truly that the body gets to rest for the athlete is Saturday and Sunday, and that's the true recovery time, because once they get home and hit bed, they get some nutritional recovery and they get some time off, but the next day they're right back at it. Like I said, football is one of those redundant sports that's done all the time throughout the week. They practice hard Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and they play the varsity sport on Friday, which they do eat about an hour and a half, 2 hours before the game. But we all know, depending on how much you've consumed, after 30 minutes of consumption, your body starts to use that for whatever activity you're going to start doing. And it usually lasts to an hour and a half after that. And that's pretty good for the school-age kid, because most of the quarters are 4 quarters, 12 minutes. Or once they get a little older, 4 quarters, 15 minutes, totally depending on where they are in life. So one of the challenges that I see for public schools is to be able to facilitate nutrition so the kids can give their utmost performance all through the week in practice and all through the season with game performance. I'd just like to thank the Journal of Sports Science for its article on energy availability in athletes. Also, the IEDA Fitness Journal for the 6 takeaways from ACSM annual meeting. The effects of variation in protein and carbohydrates, intake on body mass and competition during energy expenditure, and the Journal of Strength and Conditioning on recovery from training, a brief review. Thanks for your time. I hope this helped in layman's terms.